soonest I could see us really doing this would be that week of the 4th, which is a 3-day, well, it's the 3rd, but that's a busy day for us. And so it'd be the either 5th, 6th, or 7th, and then after that. So it's just a challenging time to set a special meeting from a staff perspective.
Can Abby attend?
We're both working on these projects pretty intently, so it's just awkward from that perspective.
Well, we'd have to be sure we could have quorum then too.
That is
Right.
true.
I know.
Well, that's the other thing is I can't guarantee a meeting ever. We have to put out feelers and see what people's availability is.
I am curious, Daniel B. Smith, I am curious, since the first and only item under new business is the mural proposal, Connie, which I know that you're here to speak to, would you be, I'm interested in hearing about the schedule. I've looked over the proposal, but the timetable was not the main thing that I was paying attention to. So would you be able to speak a little bit to the constraints that you're under as far as the schedule
Yes.
for it?
I need to complete it before the end of the month for our funding. The Kansas Creative Art Industry Commission has really odd funding cycles that end in June. So it's right in the middle of mural or the beginning of mural season. And I guess missing a meeting would miss our timeline.
This is an opportunity to just kind of do some work on this. Connie, one thing, so whenever a mural is submitted, I also reach out to our Historic Resources Office to make sure there's no concerns related to the building that the mural is being proposed on. And I also reach out to our sign code people because your rendering shows words in the mural, and sometimes that triggers a sign code review. Good news is sign code's fine with what you're proposing, so that works out okay. On the historic front, I reached out to Lynn Zollner, who runs the Historic Resources Office, and I just want to share this information because this also could be a time issue. Let me just read this. There's no historic review required for this property. However, it is important to note that the property is potentially eligible for the National and Kansas Registers of Historic Places. If it were listed, it would be eligible for rehabilitation tax credits. These credits can include work on HVAC, electrical, plumbing, etc. Painting the building may preclude it from being listed as a historic register. It is possible the mural could be painted on the rest of the building and not, but wait a minute, could be painted and the rest of the building not painted would be allowed. I have an email out to the State Historic Preservation Office to see if painting the mural and/or building would keep it from being listed. I'll let you know as soon as I hear back from them. Could potentially be important for the owner to know. So I'll forward this email to you for your awareness, and you should reach out to the owner and let them know of this circumstance, because I think that's important for them to be aware of. I know that's not great news under your time frame. I wonder if you could reach out to the Kansas Creative Arts Industries Commission and see if you could get an extension.
I can't. I already tried.
Oh.
Well, I shot off an email to our one remaining member who could potentially join us. I would. I feel like I know, Porter, you're saying that both you and Abby are very stretched thin.
I think that what I would say is if we were to do this, it would have to be that last week of June. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at the 28th is the natural because that's a Wednesday night. I guess we could get a general consensus here if that could work.
I wouldn't be able to attend. It's the Free State Festival that week.
Right. That's the other thing is we got Free State that whole week.
And you're away, right?
I'm away. Yep.
Well, let's see. Is there any other Wednesday or any other? I realize that last Wednesday would be a natural time, but I do wonder if I feel like our deliberation on this is largely involves us reviewing the materials, which I think most of us have already prior to this meeting. The mural proposal itself is part of it, so I do wonder if we could.
occurred to me, even with art commission approval, it still has to go on a city commission meeting agenda. And the city commission only meets the first 3 Tuesdays of the month. There's, even with approval tonight,
Get there.
I don't think it can get on this month's agenda. So we're in a pickle here. If it were approved tonight, I can't get it on the June 20th agenda. There's no meeting on the 27th, and then the 4th is canceled. So there's no way I could get this on the city commission agenda until July 11th at the earliest. So just that alone creates another hurdle.
So I'm curious, Connie, you said you already reached out to the folks asking for an extension, and they said that would not be possible.
Yeah, I already asked for an extension because I had a baby, and so I took some time off, and I'm just trying to wrap this up. So this is like the last time I can do it.
That seems like having a baby seems like a very good reason to request an extension. I am curious, like obviously it seems like the timing is unfortunate considering obviously the fact that we wouldn't be able to approve it tonight, and then also the city commission wouldn't be able to take our recommendation into account prior to the end of the month. I am curious if there's any way we could, try and reach out and explain the larger complications around the timing. At this point, I feel like, if it was just up to you and the materials and the individuals involved, you could actually get the thing done. So it is tricky that it's simply the process that is getting in the way.
Well, and this historic resources issue is unusual, and I don't want to overlook that. And she's reaching out to find more information, so I'm afraid we're just sort of...
It's a private business.
But it's just the property owner should be aware that they could be eligible for historic register and potential tax credits that would help them if they ever wanted to do work on the building.
But whose responsibility is it to tell them that? Is that Connie's or, because I feel like I appreciate the fact that it could be, that's kind of a line of possibilities. But it seems like all we need to do, or somebody needs to do, is tell the building owner, hey, the city says this could potentially be an issue. Do you want to pause forward progress and investigate that, or are you good with us just going forward? And I don't know the best way to approach that, but I don't like operating on what a possibility coulda, shouldas at this point.
Yeah. In addition, the owners have already painted that side of the building a solid color.
Like I said, I will send you this email, and I will defer to you're working directly with the owner. This is not a city project, it's a private building, so it's really your relationship with the owner. But I would encourage you to share this information just to make sure they're aware of that.
I will say, I don't think that, given the fact that we don't have a quorum and also the timing issues, I don't think that we should ask you to do the full mural proposal. But I will say that having looked over the proposal, I am, usually we reserve this, our opinions for after the proposal part is done, but I definitely am in favor of seeing this go forward. I think that this mural looks great. I think the other murals that you've done in this series so far have been really great. So I'm hopeful. Obviously, there's some serious hurdles here, but I am personally invested in seeing us try and figure out if there's some way we can, I don't know, fire off an email or I will be disappointed if this doesn't end up coming to fruition as outlined in the proposal.
But it sounds like it can't just purely due to commission constraints. Like if we had this last month, we'd be golden, right? But if we're here today, if I'm hearing Porter right, he says we just can't get it on the agenda before then.
Yeah.
Because I love the proposal.
This is Gina Amont. So we couldn't get it on to am I missing some, is there one more meeting that we could, if we were to be able to vote on it in the next couple of days?
No, the deadline for the June 20 meeting was yesterday to get something on the agenda. So there's no way I can get on the agenda for next Tuesday, and then they don't have a meeting on the 27th, and then they don't have a meeting on July 4th either. So July 11 would be the soonest I could possibly get it on if we could approve it tonight.
Right.
Connie, do you have to have it complete in order to get the funding?
Correct.
Okay.
So I don't personally think that we're going to solve this right here and now, which is unfortunate because I've already expressed that I think it's a great project that I'd like to see go forward. But I think that I hold out hope that we might be able to at least try and put together some at least noble attempts to see if there's a solution after this meeting. I think Porter, you and I and Abby can email back and forth and try and see if there's something we can recommend, or because obviously none of us want to be an impediment to this going forward. And obviously with the city commission schedule being what it is, like even if we could approve it tonight, it wouldn't be able to get on their agenda. I do think your time is valuable, Connie. So I wouldn't want you to go through the whole mural proposal right now. And I really appreciate you coming by. I think that we'll plan on following up and trying maybe after this meeting we'll come up with a brilliant solution. I make no promises, but I'm personally hopeful. So, and the proposal looks great. I will say that we are also way later on the agenda. We were supposed to discuss the ribbon cutting over at the FMart mural, and that mural came out beautifully, and I will certainly be there at that. I assume you'll be there too. I don't know if that's the case. Okay. So I don't know if anybody else has anything else they want to say, other commiseration or.
No, it's frustrating, but I have to admit that I forget sometimes the timing constraints that these have to go before the commission, and I always like to think that our action is the final action. So I guess note to self that when we get these as we move forward, we're going to have to really be aware of the timing issues so that we can alert anyone that it is an issue.
Well, if nobody else has anything else to say, again, Connie, thanks for joining us. Sorry that we don't have a brilliant solution at the moment. We will keep thinking on it, put our heads together. And it's always nice seeing you, and I guess in the very least we'll see you at the FMart ribbon cutting.
Thank you.
So that is the only item we have on new business. Obviously, no action was taken, and no action even could have been taken. We do have some stuff under old business, looking at the budget and getting some updates. I think that some of those updates we can still go through. I think that seems fine. Porter, I don't know if you.
Yeah, I think we can talk about. I don't know that we really need to review the budget. If you want to, we can. But since
I think for the sake of brevity, we're
on track. I will tell you that. And then the outdoor downtown sculpture exhibition, the committee met, and we are going to meet at the visitor center. And I got approval from Kim Onsbach. We'll meet at the visitor center. We're going to get some water and keep it fairly simple, sort of like years prior with a sculpture walk. So that will be at 5:30, final Friday, June 30th at the Visitor Center. And everything's coming together. I was thrilled. Tim and I walked in together, and I didn't realize the artist had gotten his piece in across the street. It looks fabulous. It's just glimmering in the light over there, so I got some good photos of it, which is great. So things are coming together, and it's now the crunch point. I'm trying to get all things together for that, but it's looking really good, and I'm excited this year. And I don't know if somebody wants to speak to the Phoenix Awards. I'm trying to think of anybody. Can you?
Yeah,
That'd be great. Great.
Yeah, I can do that. So So we received 6 complete applications, and last I heard, there was a 7th application, but I believe part of it was missing, and I think Abby was going to follow up on making sure that.
I don't think she ever got any more information, unfortunately.
Okay, so we have 6 or maybe 7, but it looks like 6 applications, and the subcommittee, which is Mary, Jill, and me, we're going to meet sometime before our July meeting to select the recipients for that. I think that Mary checked with you, Porter. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but Mary checked with you on we contracted for 6.
Right.
6 sculptures and
Right.
6 awards, and one of them is on display. Is going to be on
Correct.
display.
Right.
So that means we can award 5 awards. So we are, like I said, going to get together sometime before the July meeting to make that decision.
Great.
That's where we're at right now.
Great, thank you for the update. I don't know if anybody has any questions surrounding the Phoenix Awards. Marlo or Marciana, feel free to chime in. And then obviously the outdoor sculpture exhibition, I've been seeing those slowly pop up. It's always kind of exciting when one just appears overnight.
I will add Friday, if anybody's up at 7:30 a.m. at 8th and Mass, I know you live nearby, Miles Schachter has got a pretty amazing sculpture that we're going to be installing. We need a bobcat to do this, and please pray with me for no rain, because we want to get it in as soon as we can. But he's going to install his piece at 8th and Mass on the corner by Merchants, right by the flower bed there. We tried to do it Monday, but we didn't have the right equipment, because I didn't realize how heavy his stuff obviously is. Very heavy. So.
You said 7:30?
7:30 a.m. I'm kind of teasing, but if anybody's out and about, come on by.
I'll be there.
Should be entertaining. We may
Got a
need
quarter of
help.
my day done by then. How many sculptures are in? So we've got the one at the Art Center's in, or at Theater Lawrence is in.
Theater Lawrence. So we have 9 sculptures, 8 of which will be outside, and then
Right.
one is the
Floating.
inflatable
Yeah.
one that will be at the Lawrence Art Center as part of Free State Festival, which I'm thrilled about. So yeah, we've got them all over. Plus, Tim, gosh, what's his last name?
With
Tim from the Art Center. He works at the Art Center. Tim O'Brien. Gosh, I was thinking O'Reilly for some reason. He has his piece are still out at Phoenix, and I just reached out to him. He wants to leave it, so that's fine. He actually may be able to sell it, so I said, if you need it, take it, but until then, let's leave it out. Obviously, Miles's piece is still out. So we're kind of gaining a bit of a public art collection, just because people aren't saying, well, I really want that spot.
Right.
So it's kind of neat, I think, and adds to our unmistakable identity.
as far as other pieces that I haven't been put in yet, the brick.
So-
brick
Oh,
So we have
gosh.
2 that are in, right?
No, we have,
Of this
Mara
round.
Strayer's piece is in at the Carnegie. So
Oh, it is. Okay.
it looks fabulous.
Oh, it is. I saw it.
It
Yeah.
really looks fabulous.
That's right. It is cool.
She's really excited about it too. This is her first real sort of commissioned piece, so I'm very excited for her. And it was fun putting it up. It was kind of the image of Iwo Jima with our guys lifting it into position. Maybe bad analogy, but anyway. And then we have this piece out here, and I'm just trying to think. The piece in front of the law enforcement center, the municipal court is in Skip Willett's piece.
It is. Okay.
The piece
Theater
by
Lawrence.
Eldridge is in.
The Eldridge piece is
Yeah.
in. Depth of Form by Jacob Bermud is in. So most of them are actually
Slimmers is in too, right?
Slimmers is in,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over
Okay.
by Global.
So most of them are in. I'm working on, we have new name tags and, art tags. So I'm working on getting those done as well so that you'll actually be able to identify them. And I am working with Eric on getting our stuff on AutoCast all updated. So yeah, actually we're looking really good. With Miles's piece in, I think, gosh, is that the last? Maybe the last piece.
Okay.
So yeah, it's coming together. It's always a bit of a roller coaster ride in the end, but we're getting there.
So up next on the agenda, just briefly, just kind of going over some of the committee updates. There were two. It's a shame that we weren't able to have a quorum for this meeting tonight, but we did have two I feel like very productive subcommittee meetings. I was at both of them, and I'm happy to share, again, very briefly, sort of the contents, unless somebody else wants to, because...
Have at it.
So with the Grants and Advocacy Subcommittee, I feel like that meeting was much more it was much more looking at the way things are and trying to evaluate whether there needs to be change to the process. And a lot of issues were brought up surrounding, personally, I brought up some issues around the scoring rubric, but other people brought up some issues around the application process, thinking about the folks who are applying for those community arts grants, and the ease with which they're doing so. So there was some, Mary had a lot of really great input about trying to make that process easier, trying to make the form that people use a little bit more friendly, and reduce some of the difficulty there. Also some things about having a soft deadline so that we would have a prescribed period in which we could reach out to people to help them clarify their submissions, and some other things there. We also talked about the potential for having a sort of a smaller pool of money that would go to individuals and smaller projects that would be separate from the larger pool that would go to sort of some of these heavy hitters. We also talked a lot about who we feel like, or like what projects we feel like the community arts grants really, like what the intent is behind the community arts grants and what they should be funding, and trying to kind of maybe hone in a little bit on the purpose section of the explanation on some of the forms. So that's kind of a general review of some of the stuff we discussed. I think that as far as the full body is concerned, going down the line, we might see some draft versions of a revised rubric, some revisions to the schedule for people applying, and some revisions to the actual application. So I definitely think that subcommittee will meet again, and I think that out of that we might see some recommendations that will be brought to the full board. As far as the public art and outdoor sculpture exhibition subcommittee meeting, it was really mostly about talking about the upcoming outdoor sculpture exhibition event, which is on the 30th, where we will be doing a little walking tour and seeing all of the great new sculptures. There was also a little bit more sort of, I'm trying to think of the right term.
Public art CIP.
Yeah.
Quick update for those who weren't there is that the CIP process is, as usual, pretty tight, because there's lots and lots of projects and not as much money as projects. So currently that $700,000 proposal has been put on the unfunded list. The way that, just to quickly explain, so there's actually a really more sophisticated scoring system than we've ever had, which is great. They have an internal committee, so every project gets scored according to whether it's a regulatory requirement. A lot of our projects are required by law for water processing and that type of thing. Bridges obviously take priority, that type of infrastructure. So that gets a higher score. If it on the strategic plan, if it hits like one outcome area or two outcome areas or several commitment areas, then obviously that score is higher, so that rises up as well. And it's not to say that ours isn't valuable, but it just doesn't score as high in the sort of practical circumstances that there are at this point. So we talked about, a letter. I'll let you fill in the blanks from there. Sure.
Yeah, we talked about. I think we talked a lot about kind of the unseen potential for some of these, like this art infrastructure, and how putting together some proposals and putting together some ideas and maybe even some things that would help sort of visualize what could be. I feel like it's hard for people sometimes to see what isn't, what could be, or realize that we're missing out on opportunities to really develop some of this infrastructure that could So we did discuss the potential of drafting up a letter that would then go to the city commission and talk about trying to carve out some more dedicated funding, with the idea that if you do not carve out dedicated funding for things like this, then it's always the first thing that kind of gets cut when people need to fix water pipes or whatever it is.
And I'll add too, we did talk about the fact that we are beginning to embark on our comprehensive plan for parks, recreation, arts, and culture. And so that's a good news. We have this arts consultant, and so this will certainly be part of that conversation, is looking at that resolution 7070 and determining, is this the policy that makes the best sense at this time for the city? We also talked about, and something I've advocated for a couple of years now, is ideally we'd have a master plan, a public art master plan. So I think every city has to confront, is public art something we're really committed to? And if so, what mechanism do we use to better ensure that it can happen? And so that's something to look at. And maybe as an outcome of the comprehensive plan, there might be a recommendation to do a public art master plan. And really, at this point, I mean, that public art policy was visionary in its day back in 1986. I'm not sure it's still the same policy that we need now, if that makes sense. And so I think it's worth exploring that and determining, I know there's been some conversation too, because it's tied specifically to the capital improvement plan, it's limited to bricks and mortar and has certain sort of requirements because of that. And so, is that what we want to do? It's kind of those big questions we've been asking in other areas as well. So I think it's good to do what we're saying, and I'm hopeful for the future.
Yeah,
and having
you
conversations.
touched on one thing that I neglected to mention, which is really the idea that there's that resolution, and that resolution is sort of a nudge to do something, and it's a recommendation that maybe the city should do this, and that sometimes saying that if the resolution says that the city should do this, and then that ends up happening, a very small percentage of the time, then maybe just the recommendation isn't enough really to hold us to something that we as a community say is integral to our identity. So maybe switch that should into a must, or should this percentage of the time, something a little bit stronger, which I think could be the result of
as we've
master
discussed too. It's a lot of cities have an ordinance. An ordinance is different than a resolution.
Anyways, I think that is committee update. I don't know if anybody has anything else to say regarding those meetings, but if not, we can move right along down the agenda. We have a miscellany section I mentioned earlier. First item there is an invitation to the ribbon cutting at the FMart Asian Market Mural ribbon cutting. It's going to be June 22nd from 11 a.m. to noon. I will certainly be there. I really love that mural. I think it really draws people's eye to that building from the street. It's FMart is just like a really great, it's a great place, it's a great part of our community, and the more people that know about it, the better. So I will certainly be there, and maybe you all will be also.
I'll try to be there.
Yeah, same.
And if too many of us are there, we won't be able to talk to each other.
Just don't talk business.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody else has anything else they want to add. Favorite item they got at FMart. If not, the next item is updates on recommendations regarding boards and commissions committee, also known as the committee. So tomorrow evening from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock at the Carnegie Building will be the recommendations regarding boards and commissions committee feedback session. This is the only in-person feedback session which is planned. On Friday, so the day after tomorrow, there will be a virtual feedback session which people can join online to give feedback. But I will be at the Carnegie Building tomorrow, 5 to 7, facilitating some group discussion around the proposed changes to the boards and committees. I am very hopeful that there will be lots of feedback, both positive and negative. I feel like if people tell us that we did our job perfectly, I will be shocked. So I'm hopeful that people will come, especially people who are very involved in all the other boards and committees. I've tried to do my due diligence and learn as much as possible about the boards and committees that we are making recommendations on, but it takes a lot of time. A lot of people have a lot of long-term institutional knowledge. So I know for a fact that some folks from some boards and committees will be there to speak on behalf of those bodies and give their input. If anybody from this board wants to come, I think that would be great. As of right now, as you all know, the recommendation does not include changing the Lawrence Cultural Arts Commission in any drastic way. The current recommendation is that the Lawrence Cultural Arts Commission would be one of a couple bodies, which is under the Unmistakable Identity umbrella. Parks and Recreation Advisory Board would also still exist, and essentially it's same basic format. I think there's probably, with all of this work, there's room to maybe refine some things about the way, the function of all the boards. So there should be sweeping changes to kind of board and committee function and different things. If you're serving on a board and commission, any board or committee, I assume that you will see some change to just how things are done day to day, but the actual nature of this board is not currently supposed to change that much. I want to try and get the word Lawrence chopped off the front of it, but that is not important. So if anybody wants to come by tomorrow, that'd be great. After this feedback session, I think we will go back to the drawing board and take that all that feedback and synthesize that into an updated proposal, and then beyond that there will be more discussion, and eventually it will actually go to the city commission, who make final decisions on these sorts of things. So that's my update. I don't know if anybody has any questions. All right, great. We've got a couple of things. We have an arts, innovation, and education section.
I'm sorry, Marlo, your dog is like watching something behind you.
There's a dog on the other side of the fence.
I just see him poised, and I was imagining his leash is tied to your chair, and we're going to see you go flying. Sorry, it was a humorous distraction.
Oh, you're
Thank you.
fine. So the arts, innovation, and education section, because we don't have a quorum, and we're making this a brief one. I don't know if you want to.
I think, we've shared a lot of stuff. Hopefully that's opened people's eyes, if nothing else. And as we do move into the comprehensive plan, to take that information, any other information you've gleaned about, where Lawrence wants to be in his future, that type of thing. And I think it, just a reminder that as we move into the comprehensive plan, the steering committee will meet and work with the consultant team to sort of guide this project. And there will be a lot of community engagement opportunities, both for parks, recreation, and arts and culture. And so encouraging people to attend those is going to be really key.
Do you know when the members of the steering committee will be made public? Is there? I mean, I know that some selections have been made. But.
Yeah, it should be soon. We haven't quite figured that out, and we're just getting back in touch with the consultant team on that. The consultant team will be presenting at the July 18 City Commission meeting. So that's where they're going to sort of launch this project and explain to the City Commission exactly what their anticipated schedule looks like. So that's coming as well. I would say the steering committee probably will be announced in the next week or two.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? If not, I will say that I did I did mention this when talking about the recommendations regarding boards and commissions committee. The fact that we don't have a quorum tonight, and the fact that our number, we are at 8 members, but our quorum level is still at 6, does make things a little bit tricky. I know that there is potentially a freeze on appointing new members to boards and commissions or boards and committees while the committee is sort of in the review process, which I think, I understand why that is. It would be weird to appoint someone to a board that immediately got reformed into something else. But that is tricky, and so I think going forward, I guess we can try and be a little bit more I don't know, try and be more diligent and triple checking with folks that they'll be able to attend, so that we can make sure that we have a quorum through this transitional
Yeah,
phase.
we'll put out an email and just, remind people that we don't have a lot of freedom on absences. I'll also reach out to city manager's office about, given where things seem to be headed, maybe reach out to the mayor and say, hey, if you could appoint 1 or 2 new members, that would be really helpful.
Yeah, that is kind of what I was thinking. I do not, maybe after the feedback session tomorrow and the feedback session on Friday, if there is nobody who is adamant that the Cultural Arts Commission needs to be reformed or combined or disbanded, then the mayor will feel a little bit more comfortable placing some people on the Cultural Arts Commission.
I have a question. This is
Sure.
Amant. So if I recall correctly, weren't there some applications sent in? So there are some waiting in the wings.
I believe that's true, yeah, and I don't know how many they have, but the mayor, those go in, and that's what the mayor uses to work from, and she reaches out to candidates to learn more.
Oh, hey, Jill has joined us.
Hi, Jill.
I just realized that I could come in via Zoom.
Okay, great. Well, better late than never, I guess. We've gone through a lot of stuff on the agenda. A lot of it has been giving updates. The only things that we've passed over, which actually require a quorum at this point, I believe, would be approving the May minutes. There was a mural proposal, but due to timing issues, even if we approved it, it would not have been able to get on the agenda for the city commission.
Would there be a point, since Connie is still in attendance, to move that forward?
Yeah, I mean, I would be in favor of it. I think us having Connie give the mural proposal and having us consider it, in the very least, gets them a little bit closer to their goal. And I would be willing. I would certainly be willing to spend the time to do so if everyone else is.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for joining us, Jill. I will kick things back up the agenda to new business and turn the floor over to Connie, who has joined us to talk about a mural proposal at La Estrella.
May I share my screen?
Yes, that'd be great.
Okay, can you see that okay?
Yes.
Let me go to the beginning. Okay, thank you, everybody. My name is Connie Fiorella-Fitzpatrick. I'm the program manager of the People's Markets program, which you are already a little bit familiar with. We are wrapping up our work here in Lawrence, Kansas, and I am very happy to announce that thanks to the hard work of all our community partners, including the Small Business Development Center, Douglas County, Kansas Healthy Food Initiative, and others, this project has been so inspiring that it is moving to Garden City, and the exciting part about that is that their community is so diverse that they're going to have a lot more stores and a lot more murals. So this pilot program, so far so good. This is the last proposal I will be giving to the Arts Commission for this program, and this proposal is particularly for La Estrella, Tienda Mexicana, which translates to the Star, the Mexican grocery store. As many of you may have attended to this store and also restaurant, it is a modern version of Mexican cuisine. It is kind of like fast food, but also customized to the particular regions where the owners are from. So the mural proposal is for La Estrella, which is located on 2323 Ridge in Lawrence, Kansas. The mural, the mural will be visible to the traffic on 23rd Street, and it's also visible to the traffic, to the pedestrians going along Ridge Court. We will use Nova Color high quality acrylic paint for the mural, and also varnish for long lasting. There is not a neighborhood association located in this location. So something really cool about this location is that the Douglas County Food Policy Council partnered with KU and also the T-Transit to make sure that all of these multicultural grocery stores are on a bus route. As you, some of you may know that multicultural foods are really essential to the wellness and feeling of belonging to multicultural members in Lawrence, Kansas. So as you see where the star is, that's where La Estrella is, and the stop is route number 11, and the stop number is 290, which you probably already know that now the bus is free, and you can finally bring a shopping cart in the bus, like a rolling little cart, so you can do your shopping as well. So in regards to racial equity and diversity populations, the Hispanic community is one of the top rising populations in our region. And I got this data from the LDCHD Health Equity Report done a few years back. And La Estrella Mural proposal elevates these foods and cultures, Mexican, Chicano, and also Latina Hispanic community members of Lawrence, Kansas. This mural is very culturally appropriate for the neighborhood. It also serves the working class and marginalized folks who live in the proximity of the store. There are several apartments near the low-income apartments near the store that are largely populated by the Spanish-speaking Latino Hispanic community. That's a bigger chart. Also, something interesting about this location is that it is a low moderate income block group and also a minority block group. In addition, I don't know if you guys have heard of Forward Cities. The city of Lawrence and Douglas County is part of Forward Cities that are trying to create a more equitable entrepreneurship environment ecosystem for BIPOC, Black, Indigenous people of color, including in the Douglas County Community Health Plan. It's that these three items. So C, increase BIPOC representation among leadership in Douglas County entrepreneurial ecosystem. That includes supporting La Estrella's visibility through public work, I believe. Support, increase affordable and accessible opportunities for training and support BIPOC entrepreneurs. Sustain, research, develop, and implement low-interest loans, which Douglas County is working on. So I think that the work that we're doing with La Estrella is not only helping the wellness of the Hispanic community by the feeling of belonging, but it's also implementing the goals of the Douglas County Community Health Plan and the food policy plan as well. The installation, well, we hope to be done by the end of the month. The budget is funded by the Kansas Creative Industry Commissions, and the agreement is between the artist and KCAIC and the owner of the building. The copyright belongs to the lead artist, Javier Ortiz, and I, Connie Fiorella-Fitzpatrick. The text that you see just means tacos, rotondas, dulces, música, which translates to tacos. Rotondas are places where you can watch television and eat, like soccer games. And dulces just means sweets, music, música. This is the location of La Estrella. And this is the mural proposal. It is very simple. We have gotten data and collected data from shoppers there, and a lot of the folks that mentioned that jicama was really important, which you can see on top of that truck. There are other items like nopales, which are this cactus that you eat and grill. Of course, the number one food was tacos. So having that at the front was really important. The colors reflect the lively environment of the Estrella. As you may have already seen, the artist bios of Javi Ortiz, who has done a lot of work in town at several galleries and also at the Arts Center. All of our projects have an artist assistant. These are folks who would like to get into public artwork and are dabbling into it, but haven't had experience yet. So Sydney Ruiz Crubel will be our artist assistant for this project. I'm really excited to work with her. She has also assisted with the FMart mural as part of the People's Artist Program. So that's all I have. That is the building owner signature of approval. Javi's work, I believe that's at the Art Center. This one is at coffee shop downtown. My youth work, me painting with kids. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you, Connie. I'm so glad that you were able to actually present today in front of the a quorum of our members. I'm curious if anybody had any questions. I know we all had the proposal prior to the meeting, but I'm curious if there's anything anybody wants to hear about the process or any of the artists involved.
So,
go ahead.
no, go ahead, Jill. No, go ahead.
So that's, it's painted on the brick, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's all.
This is Tim. So is there any possibility that somebody from the commission could actually give your granting source a call and just discuss some of our timing difficulties? I mean, I realize that may be a little bit step outside the norm, but I think that the goal here is to try to help you pull this off. I don't think it's going to happen before June 30. And so, I'm immediately thinking Plan B. What can a reasonable Plan B be? And of course, if I'm the granting authority and the artist calls me and says I need more time, well, we know kind of how that works in the real world. But if perhaps the approving authority were to give somebody from the approving authority were to give a call and say, look, our timeline is just messed up here. This could be done probably, 2 or 3 weeks into July. Can you carry that funding? I mean, I don't know the funding source. It may be that those funds disappear June 30th. I don't know. But just wondering if you have any thoughts about that.
Yeah, my interpretation is that the funding disappeared after that time.
Okay.
Well, I will say, Tim, to your point, Stephen B. Smith, I would certainly be happy to make a phone call as an extension of my general approval of this proposal. I think that it's great. I think La Estrella is great. It's already such a beautiful space, and I think this mural would only really reflect how beautiful the building is on the inside to those passing by on the outside. And I think that would really help. I think that a lot of people might not realize just how beautiful the space is if they haven't actually gone through the doors. And so that is a really great, reason to have some of that on the exterior of the building. So I'm certainly in favor of seeing this go forward, and we'll and if making a phone call will help, I would be happy to do so. Just as a person, not necessarily as any obligation for this body, and not to necessarily set a precedent that people in this body are going to make phone calls in general, but I would certainly be happy to, even if it's pointless. But if nobody else has any other specific questions, I do think we could, in the very least, get one hurdle out of the way for this mural project and vote to potentially approve it, and then leave only 1 or 2 other hurdles to go.
I move approval of the mural project at La Estrella as presented.
Great, thank you, Tim. Do I have a second? I believe that was Jill. Thank you, Jill. I will now do a roll call vote to approve this mural proposal, starting with Marlo.
Approved.
Thank you, Marlo. And then Dina.
Approved.
And then Marciana.
Approved.
And then Jill.
Approved.
And Tim.
Approve.
And I will also approve, so it will pass unanimously. Our recommendation to the City Commission that they vote to approve this mural. Obviously, there might be some difficulty getting it before them in time, but in the very least, you have our blessing, and hopefully that will help. And we appreciate you taking the time to put this proposal together and come before us. Hopefully there will be good news before the end of the month, and who knows, crazier things have happened. So thanks for joining us as always, Connie.
Connie, before you go, I just want to make sure I understand. So you said that they've already painted this facade of the building?
Yeah.
White.
Okay, that's good information. That gives me information to work with the Historic Resources Office too, so thanks.
Can I ask a question about the timeline?
Sure. Yeah. Sorry, Jill. I guess you weren't here when we discussed a lot of the issues pertaining to the timeline. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry. I can always go back. Is there a reason why it's so tight?
Yeah, I got an extension because I had a baby, and I've been managing the project as well as making my work. So that's why the timeline is tight. And Kansas Creative Art Industry Commission also has a really odd funding cycle that ends in June. It's right at the beginning of mural season. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of a systematic barrier from all sorts of angles.
Okay. Well, if there's anything I can do to get pushed through also as fast as possible, I think it's beautiful.
Thank you.
All right, returning to our, we were going through the agenda pretty quickly. There, other than the mural proposal and the minutes, I guess have we approved the minutes yet? Did we do that already?
No.
Gosh, okay. So let's keep rewinding, and I will go ahead and go back to our approval of the May minutes. I don't know if anybody has had time to review them or has extreme complaints with them or anything, but if so, let us know, and if not, I would entertain a motion to approve them.
This is Dina. I have like a small thing, tiny little thing.
It's not extreme.
No,
Okay.
I just noticed on the, I'm trying to find it again here. I think that under like the people present, it listed Denise Stone's name, so.
Oh,
just
that may be a
little
carryover.
cleanup thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably on some previous.
It's in the iCompass system, and so sometimes iCompass inserts things that we don't want it to insert. So I'll check on that. We'll fix that.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Tiny little detail,
Thank you for
but-
pointing that out. I know that, yeah, that has been kind of a recurring issue with some of those holdover things. So with the understanding that we might remove Denise's name from those present, I would entertain a motion to approve the May minutes.
I will make a motion to approve the May minutes.
Great, thank you, Jill.
Second.
And Tim has seconded. So I will do a roll call vote starting with Marlo,
Approved.
and then Dina,
Approved.
and then Marciana,
Approved.
and then Jill,
Approved.
and Tim.
Approve.
And then I shall also approve, and passing unanimously. I believe that is the end of us doing things backwards. The only other thing we could do, I mean, we could do a roll call again, but we can, Jill, let us know if there's anything that you specifically you have questions about on the agenda that we've already passed. Obviously, you can review some of you can review the footage later, and I think you're present for at least some of the subcommittee meetings. So I will return us to where we were. This still might be a short meeting. It's 8:30. We were right at the tail end of miscellany with the sharing of community events. So has anybody attended, or is anybody planning on attending an event other than the outdoor sculpture exhibition event on the 30th, which we've already covered?
And Free State.
And Free State Festival, and also the ribbon cutting at FMart. Other than those three events that we mentioned, does anybody have anything they'd like to share?
I went to see Something Rotten at Theater Lawrence, and it was hysterical. So, interesting show, for sure. And, I went to Wheatfields today and I parked and I looked across the street and I was like, what's that thing under the tree? And it was one of our new sculptures. And so it's just really fun when you're out in the community and you're like, look what we did.
Yeah, that piece
So,
looks great
cool.
there too. I'm really pleased with that.
It's very, very cool.
I guess I will mention it's almost 4th of July, and I just recently played a show in Kansas City with a band called 4th of July, who anybody who is into local music from 10 plus years ago might be familiar with them. They had not played a show in 10 years.
Wow.
It was a reunion show, and it was a real throwback experience. I remember seeing them in Birchland Park when I was in high school. So
Cool.
they're old timers, like I guess we all are. But so that was a pretty neat throwback to sort of the Lawrence music scene. But that's all I've got. I will be at the FMart ribbon cutting. I will be at the outdoor sculpture exhibition event. I will be at the third one also. Which brings us to the end of miscellany. That's all we got. This is the rare short meeting. I'm glad that we were able to check off the two important things we had to do. But if no one else has anything else for the good of the group, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Tim. Can I get a second?
Jill.
Looks like Jill might have frozen while seconding. All right, great. We don't need to do a roll call in there. So thank you all for volunteering your time to be here. Thank you to Porter for being here. Congratulations to Abby's father, who I believe is getting married or something congratulatory. Thank you to Kurt for all the technical stuff. And I will see you all on the 22nd or the 30th or around town. So thank you.
Thank you. So sorry I was late.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.